All right, today I want to teach you complex number under mathematics. My name is Simeon Atimise, um, a mathematics educationist. So, um, the, in mathematics, we have something called complex number. We have real numbers. Now, inside real number, there is we see all our normal expression, all our normal algebras, all our normal solvings in mathematics that is not involved with anything called negative root. Any mass you see that is not involving negative root is under what called real number. Now, complex number come as a result of a process whereby you solve maybe something like quadratic equation. You are solving quadratic equation, and then you now finalize your answer to become negative. It can be -1, -2, -3, anything at all that is negative. What do? That is where mathematicians came with a process called what? Complex number, to use it to settle that problem. So in mathematics, real numbers cannot solve all equations. That is true. Real number cannot solve this, the expression I just did on the board, this I equals to, where is this I coming from? You understand? It cannot be expressed by real numbers. Real numbers can be your fraction, it can be your integers, it can be your whole numbers, it can be your natural numbers. Now, if you talk about set, if you observe very well, this is like a set. The complex number is like the set. Why these other ones, all your real numbers, everything you can find on the earth is your what? Is a subset to what? To this complex number. And this complex number has a form a plus bi. It can be x plus yi. But in this content, I'm using a plus bi. Okay? A real number is the union. That is the definition of a real number, because we need to know what a real number is first before we talk about what complex number, because these two things, they are not the same. They are different. So a real number is the union of both rational and irrational numbers. Now, in my previous video, I've talked about how to convert from rational to irrational and from irrational to rational. So like your rational now, your rational can be your whole numbers, it can be your fractions, while your irrational numbers are those values like this, your square root of 2. It will give you point something. So those are what? Your rational number. Then your whole number, this is called a whole number. A whole number means you are starting from what? Like 0 and above. What about your natural numbers? Your natural numbers is from counting from 1 to infinity. Then what about your integers? Integers are of 2. Integers are your normal numbers, like your counting numbers. This is the symbol for integer, is used as z. When we are solving, we observe that our integer will be using z here to replace our complex number. So this is how we are going to write it. We use integer here, so it can be positive or negative integer. So we'll be using integer here like this, in this format. Why? Because these are numbers. All right, so let's come to this other side. Note something again. Note, in this contents, in this complex number, we need to note, it's compulsory, that I raised to the power of 2 is equals to what? -1. We should know it. It's very important when we come to division and multiplication. Now, note, real numbers cannot solve this equation. If we try this equation, it will give us a negative root, because no real number squared gives us what? A -1 or negative root. To solve this, mathematicians created a new numbers. Now, this is the new numbers they created. And this is where the complex number come to existence. Now, this complex number is very broad. We will solve so many problems under this topic. Now, this complex number, again, you can find it in your secondary, you can find it in your university. Because by the time you are solving problem and you discover that it gives you a negative value, you have crossed from real numbers to complex number entirely. So what do? A complex number. Now, this is the definition for complex. Remember, I started with real number because why? We are familiar with real number. So I need to explain what real number, for those who don't understand. I've explained what real numbers. Real numbers are your numbers, normal numbers that are not having anything root negative. It can be a 3, it can be a 4, it can be a 5. as long as it's not having root negative, it's a real number. For anything negative, it can be negative 100, negative 16. You see that there is a negative value, and your calculator will give you what syntactic error. So that is the reason why mathematician came up with this concept by saying I is equals to this value. Okay. Now, a complex number is any number of the form. Complex number is always in this form. In some books, they will use x plus what? Y, I. Why in this place we are using a plus b, I. Now, let's define it. In mathematics, when a formula is being given to us, we always define it. We say where our a, this first number here, is your real number. It can be 5, it can be 6. It's not attached with any I. This I, remember, this I is talking about your complex number. Okay, then your B is your imaginary part. Imaginary part in the sense that is this particular area that is being affected by the complexity or the complex number there. Okay, and you know that your I is equals to this value. For example, if I have root minus 4, are you observing? Root minus 4. You know that normally without this negative value, I can easily get root 4 to give me 2. But what do we do in this kind of context? We know that for this negative value to go away, you will have something like this. Root minus 1 times root 4 will give us this value here. And we know that root minus 1 is equal to I. That means, and you know that this one will give us what? Will give us 2. That means we have 2I. We are able to what? Use complex number form to split this value. So this is the main area we are going to meet very soon. So let me wipe up this area. Don't worry, we'll solve a lot of problems. Just explanation. Now let's go to the types of complex numbers. There are three types of complex numbers. The number one is pure real numbers. Pure real numbers, just like I said, they are your normal integers. Can be any number, 4, 5, 7 till infinity. Then we have pure imaginary numbers. Pure imaginary numbers can be 5i, 6i, 7i, all those values that is attached with imaginary parts. Then the last part is what? And remember, this 5i you see here, it doesn't mean just 5i that is here. The real number here is 0. That is why this 5i is just there. Like, for instance, it can be written as this. Remember, the real number there is 0 plus what? Only the what? Imaginary number. So I can even write it as 0 plus 5i. This and this, they are the same thing. So in some cases, your imaginary number will be the one that will be 0. Now, go to the last one. General complex number. Generally, this is the form of a complex number. This is how complex number is supposed to look like. One real number, one imaginary number. What did I say? One real number, one imaginary number. So at this point, we are about to solve some problems.